Now that we have the bottom form set, bottom circular form, we'll start working on the top circular form. And again, if you're just going to be building one pond, you're not going to have two layers like this, then you will just build one round form. If you're going to have a seat in it like we're having in this one, then you're going to need to build two. This is actually, I'm laying the plywood down. I'm going to cut the forms for the next section, and I just nailed two pieces together, screwed them together, snapped a couple of lines, and then I'm going to cut that. And again, you can cut one sheet at a time or line them up like I did previously. And there's a little spectator. I didn't want to hurt that little guy. I had to get him out of there. But every once in a while, when you're working in the yard, you're going to run into creatures that some of them, I guess, you're going to protect. There I am. I'm cutting the lines in. If the circle, don't forget the diameter is larger, then you can space these lines a little farther apart. If it is smaller, then they will need to be closer together, but that will be something you might need to work out on your own. It's hard for me to tell just exactly what spacing you would need for what size of your project or the diameter. And I believe the diameter of the pond is 9 foot of the upper area. And I remember it's a 900-gallon pond too. And here I am using straps. Now here's where I overlapped the plywood. You're going to need to do this. And after you overlap at the seams, like that, you'll attach them together. And this is where those curved pieces of 2x4s like these come in. They will actually give you a nice curve. If you don't install these curved pieces, then there's a good chance you're just going to have, when it comes around the corner, one of the sections where it overlaps is just going to stick out. And of course, this wouldn't provide you with a nice finish. So this right here was something that I thought of that really worked great. And a 2x4 in the center is half of the radius, or I should say, is the diameter of the circle that I'm using. So let's just say I have a 9-foot circle. I need to make sure that I subtract for the plywood thickness. That's important. So if you have a 9-foot board, you have 3/8 plywood, 2 layers of 3/8 plywood like I got here. On each side, you're going to need to subtract 1.5 inches from the 2x4 to make it work out. And again, later on, I will install another 2x4 at a 90-degree angle to brace up the other sides. Okay, and there it is. It's almost ready to be placed into the top and into the pond area. And again, those are some pieces I cut out for the joints. And like I said, that really works out great. Here it is sitting in the pond. I have placed it in there. And it isn't a bad idea. If you notice, I'm lining up my braces. The braces that are at 90 degrees, they sit on top of each other and line up. The reason for that is this is going to give you more room. It's going to give you more area to work when you're actually pouring the concrete. When you're building your pond, you've got to think ahead. You cannot, like I said earlier in the other videos, so you can't bury yourself. You've got to use the least amount of wood to create the strongest structure and keep as much of that stuff out of your way as possible so that you'll actually be able to finish the pond while stripping the forms as fast as possible after the concrete starts to set up. So you really need to hammer this one home. You've got to build the pond form in reverse. You've got to think about, hey, how is it going? How am I going to strip this thing down? How am I going to take it apart once the concrete sets up? So again, this is probably going to be the best tip I could provide you with for building a concrete pond, and for that matter, building anything out of concrete.